Hello there, football fans. Welcome once more to the Mercurial Trequartistas Gamecast, your weekly dose of Premier League passion, predictions, and proper football talk. By way of introduction, I'm Dardan, and joining me is my co-host, the man who's truly a trusted guide through the noise of modern football. Mark, how are we feeling?
Trusted guide through the noise of football.
Damn right.
Um, you've you've seen my earmuffs.
Well, even guides need their ears to sort of stay warm. So, what's on the menu today? We will start with Premier League talking points. We will then move on to our second segment, which is the fantasy football tips for the weekend ahead. And we will round things off with our third section, the obscure facts segment, which is our cult favourite. It's winning hearts and minds every week, it seems. So let's dive straight into it. As always, much to get through, but we will focus initially on Thomas Frank. He's been under a lot of pressure at Spurs. Spurs have struggled for consistent Premier League results, winning only a handful of matches in recent weeks, and I think they are sitting around 14th, which is mid-tables. It's not what we expect for Spurs. Fans are feeling very frustrated. Mark, what do you reckon?
we we've talked about Frank in the past and about how any manager of Tottenham is going to need time. I still think it's the same situation, really. They've done really well in Europe. Qualifying for the top eight and getting automatic qualification is a really good achievement for Tottenham. And the league form has been patchy, but then most teams in that middle section of the Premier League have had patchy form. Any kind of run of wins is going to jump teams up, and Frank's coming in the aftermath of a number of managers having the job and going in fairly quick succession. So there's a bit of a, I don't know, eclectic mixed match of players. He's going to need time to get his team together, his squad together. And there's just not been enough transfer windows for him to do that. So you'd expect the form to be a little patchy. A little alarming how quickly the fans have turned against him, or at least some of the more vocal fans have turned against him. But I still think you give Frank time, he will do a job.
Yeah, I mean, we've also mentioned in recent weeks that they've had a really heavy injury list, and that's made it difficult for him. And Um, there's rumours that some players privately feel that he may not be the right tactical fit. We've also touched on this that the fans are not happy with this as also. But I think they had a really good win against, was it Eintracht Frankfurt in midweek, and that offered some respite. But as is the case with Liverpool and Arne Slot, it's the domestic struggles of Spurs that continue to dominate the narrative around Frank's tenure. So. I think at the time I agree with you that it's too early to be pulling the trigger, and he's effectively in the middle of his first transfer window after the summer, but his position does appear to be fragile, and let's see if he can turn things around. They do need a sharp upturn of results. That goes without saying. We move on to story two, so transfer shenanigans. So we are approaching the end of the January window, but a lot has happened this week, and I suspect, as is always the case, a lot will happen in the next few days prior to the window closing on the 2nd of February. But as always, if we read out a few names and just tell me what you think, Mark. So Oscar Bob, who moved from City to Fulham a few days ago.
Yeah, Oscar Bob didn't quite happen at City. Kind of saw what he could do in flashes, but it didn't quite work out there, did it? So new team, good run of games, and I'm sure we'll see why City did go for him at the time. But yeah, this is one of them where change of scene could be the right thing for the player, really. It was looking harder and harder for him to get into that City side, especially with the buying power. If Pep doesn't take to you straight away, it's easy to get somebody else in there, and I think that's pretty much what's happened with Bob's position at City.
Yeah. After that, Lucas Paquetá, who moved from West Ham to Flamengo, he's been clamouring for a move back to Brazil for a while now. So
Yeah, Paquetá. This is probably another one where it's probably a good move for the player. He had a lot of well, he had that investigation going on into the spot betting case, and that dragged out quite a while. He did get cleared, They couldn't prove the claims, but it went on for so long, and I think he's spoken about how it affected him as well. He's looked like a player that wanted a change of scene for a while. So yeah, back to Brazil. I suspect he's going to benefit from the change of scene, and with a little bit of time, be remembered at West Ham for being a key player in getting them that European trophy. So yeah,
Very well said. After that, if we move on to a younger player who's been linked with Real Madrid, so this is Yan Diomande. So there's always some new kid who people say is the next big thing. Um, I think the media are focusing on him, but Real seemingly wants him, but he's also been linked heavily with Liverpool. I think he's with Leipzig at present.
yeah. This one, I think this could be a little risky. Uh, it's not a great time to be going in as a new up and comer at Real Madrid. I mean, the pressure that's on at the moment is huge, and the result in midweek has only sort of magnified that. I mean, there's already talk of Arbeloa being under pressure. He's barely been there,
Yeah.
and there's already speculation that he's not going to be there at the end of the season. So yeah, risky one that one.
Mm. And then Shay Adams, so he's formerly of Southampton, and he played for another team as well. I can't remember who. He's been linked with a Premier League return. I think he plays in Italy at the moment. I can't remember which team. It might be Torino, but I could be wrong. But apparently Wolves are considering a move to re-sign him. Yeah.
Yeah, Premier League proven. I think there has been a bit of time in the Championship as well. If Wolves are preparing for the Championship, which realistically they need to do, then this could be one of those shrewd buys for next year. So he did get a few good goals. I think I remember one. Was it against City where there was a bit of an upset? I think he got the winning goal. So if you're capable of scoring a winning goal against City, you've got a bit about you in the Premier League. So yeah, it looks like one for next year, um, and then possibly setting the stage for bouncing straight back up to the Prem. So
Mm.
yeah,
Yeah.
Wolves are getting Wolves are getting the prep work done, I think, on this one.
hmm And on the flip side of that, Strand Larson is seemingly on his way from Wolves. I think Palace have been linked, but my gut feeling is there might be another team that swoops in. I don't know why. I mean, all of us have seen this so many times, but I don't think it's quite a done deal yet for Palace, but I could be wrong.
No, I think he probably will be going. This looks like a case of, it's more prep work from Wolves for next year. They're cashing in on a Premier League proven striker now. Um, get more for him in this window than they would if they got relegated. And yeah, be a few teams after him because he's shown he knows where the goal is in this
Mm.
league.
Yeah. And connected to Palace off the back of Strand Larson coming to them, Jean-Philippe Mateta, who's a very good player. He's still being linked away. I don't think we mentioned him last week, but his move hasn't quite materialised yet, but it will do at some point. So Villa still, do you think? Or
Yeah, it could be an interesting move for Villa. I mean, there's been a few teams that have been linked with him. I, it sounds like something went really badly wrong with getting him transferred out of the club, and he's not reacted too well. There's actual speculation now that he might not play this weekend because the manager doesn't think his head's in the right place. So if it's affected him this much, yeah, keeping him to one side might be the right thing for the manager and the team. But
Mhm.
the upheaval at Palace, they've literally taken a sledgehammer to their first 11. So
Yeah,
yeah, they could be in for an interesting rest of the season now because
yeah,
there's a lot of teams fighting. I don't think they're going to go down. I think they've got enough points there, but I think they're going to find quite a few matches turn into more of a scrap than they would have been if they'd have kept that team together.
My gut feeling is they could be dragged into the relegation zone, because the teams at the bottom, so Leeds are in good form, Forest are hitting a bit of form as well. West Ham have done well in the last two games, but conversely, Palace, they are losing players. They're big players, no less. And if their form dips, they aren't that far off the bottom three at the moment. So,
I think West Ham's probably the only danger one to look for. I think they're the ones where they're probably going to be able to put a run together. But I think there'll be a team in between them and Palace
hmm
that won't be able to
yeah,
keep up the pace.
yeah,
So yeah, for me, Palace to get away with it on this one. But
hmm
if they don't get something together for next season,
yeah.
it
And
could be a dicier one next year.
a nano points on Palace. Any thoughts on who might take over next year? Because Glasner has said clearly he's going. Their best players have gone. It's just, I mean, it will be a complete rebuild.
It would be, yeah. And it'd be a manager that needs to sort of really embrace that because it's going to be a bit of a challenge.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I have no idea off the top of my head who would be prepared to go for that one.
Mm.
I know who you want to go for it.
No, no, I'd push Big Sam for the role.
Yeah,
He would spend a year or
you
two there. I
reckon?
mean, he would
Yeah.
build the team up, but Big Sam, it has to be Big Sam. So,
Okay then. I'll go Brendan Rodgers then. Go on, Rodgers.
oh, well, interestingly enough, I mean, he might be enticed back to the Premier League at some point. Actually, that's a very, very good shout. He might be someone who they would consider, and he's yeah. So anyway, that's one for the future. The third story this week, very, very quickly, we've covered AFCON with great pleasure over the last few weeks, but all of us know how the tournament ended. Senegal won, but it was under a very, very strange set of circumstances. Off the back of that, the head coach, Pate Thiaw, has been suspended for five CAF matches by the Confederation of African Football after he was found guilty of unsporting conduct and bringing the game into disrepute. Alongside the ban, he's been fined $100,000, which is about £70,000. So, just to be clear, the suspension applies only to CAF competitions, meaning Tior will miss subsequent AFCON qualifiers and similar continental fixtures, but he will not be. Sorry, his status will not be affected for the upcoming 2026 World Cup finals. The Senegalese Football Federation have also been fined, and I think two players, from memory, it was Iliman Ndiaye and Ismail Assou, both play in the Premier League. They've also been banned for two matches. So a strange end to the tournament, but Senegal, they are on top of the world, and the World Cup is just around the corner. And I, for one, I'm looking forward to seeing them play very much in this summer's tournament.
Yeah, there'll be an exciting team in it. I do raise a quizzical eyebrow at the at the ban only applying to the African side of things. Um, I think it's interesting to note as well, Morocco failed in their bid to have the result overturned or match replayed as well. So
hmm
that
Yeah,
was dismissed fairly
yeah,
fairly
yeah.
efficiently as well.
I think it's perhaps the Confederation of African Football, so that would be the equivalent of like UEFA in Europe. They are perhaps taking a long-term view that if he was banned for 5 games, it might affect the team's preparations for the World Cup, and they obviously want Senegal to thrive in the World Cup. So
Mm.
let's see what happens. Well, there you have it. Three takes and the usual resistance to nuance that you would expect from the Mercurial Trequartistas. We will, of course, keep tabs on how these stories unfold in the weeks ahead. After that, if we move on to segment two, fantasy football, do you want to kick us off quickly, Mark? I don't think you are playing Holland FC this week. Or I could be
I'm not
wrong.
sure. I thought I think I'm playing the top of the league, and
Oh,
I thought he had Haaland.
oh, okay.
So well, maybe it's the week after. I don't know. I
Yeah,
might be double taking on this, but I'm expecting to play Haaland FC this week.
yeah.
I did play Haaland FC last week, but totally smashed it. This one was a nice good win on this one. Pretty much most of my team performed. I think I got 57 points in the
Yeah.
end. It was a nice, relaxing, comfortable one. There's no relying on the last minute Pickfords from last weekend or anything like that.
hmm
So, and I think I jumped up about 4 places in the league as well. So,
hmm
and rather crucially, I think I've caught you as well, Tate. I think we're on level
Well,
points now.
I think so. Yeah, but I mean, I noticed last week that you the guy I played and myself, we scored the highest out of everyone. Everyone else had a low scoring game. But the other guy I played, I mean, he got 57, which was a few more than me. I was like, how the hell did he manage that? Because it was a very low scoring week for everyone else in the league. But
Yeah.
anyway, so
I think the average was about 30 something, wasn't it? So, yeah.
yes, yeah. I'll very quickly run through the fixtures for this week. So first of all, Brighton versus Everton. I think Brighton's creative players and their forwards are the ones to go for here. Avoid Everton defenders. I think Brighton could score quite highly. Leeds versus Arsenal. I don't recommend picking Leeds defenders or attackers or midfielders. Arsenal attackers are the ones to go for. So Saka, Martinelli. Gabriel, since he's come back from injury, he's been a bit of a beast. He's popping up and scoring regularly. So if you can afford him, he's not cheap. Go for him. Then we have Wolves versus Bournemouth. Avoid Wolves players. Bournemouth forwards are the ones to go for. Avoid all the Bournemouth defenders. They are not in great form, but the Bournemouth forwards are the ones to go for. Then we have it's Liverpool versus Newcastle. Go for the Liverpool attackers here. So Ekitike, Verts are the obvious choices. Avoid Newcastle defenders. I think they could concede a few. Aston Villa v Brentford. Villa attackers are the ones to go for. So Rodgers, Watkins. Brentford have not played that well in the last 2 or 3 weeks. They've dipped a bit. Aston Villa are very strong in general, even stronger at home. So expect Villa to get the win very, very comfortably. Then we have Man U versus Fulham. The whole world wants to see how Man U do after defeating City and then Arsenal. Both stunning results. Fulham turning up to Old Trafford. This is one to watch. I would definitely go for Man United attackers here. So Umbermo, Sesko if he's fit, and the form player in the league at the moment I think is Bruno Fernandes. Amazing stats since Carrick's arrived. So go for him if you can afford him. He's never cheap, is Bruno. And the final game we'll cover this week, Spurs versus City. Spurs, as we've just been mentioning, are fragile at the moment. City attackers are the ones to go for here. So Haaland hasn't been playing that well in recent weeks. He hasn't been scoring all that highly, but you just know that if you take the captaincy off him or drop him, he's going to have an amazing game that week. It always works out that way, and it's incredibly frustrating. So this could be the game where he finally hits a bit of form and puts a few past City. And the other place to go for is Semenyo, who I think he is the highest scoring midfielder in the country at the moment. So he's definitely one to go for. Captaincy rankings, I would take the captaincy off Haaland this week. Don't drop him, but he has been a bit low in terms of his scores recently. So go for the Arsenal attacker, so Saka, Martinelli or Gabriel if you fancy a punt, possibly Ekitike or Verts at Liverpool. But I would go for Man United players back at home, Mbomo, Sesko, or this is the one to go for, Bruno Fernandes, as I've just mentioned. He would be the one to go for here. Okay, I think that's everything for this week. Anything further to add or all good?
Only that I think Pep really should be resting Haaland now. It's definitely time for rest. Yeah, if he wants to get him back scoring for late on in the season, business end. Yeah,
Yeah.
skip weekend.
Yeah, it's nice to see you thinking of his health and his best
Long-term
interests,
consideration. That's what it is. Yeah,
and
but
like not thinking of you playing Haaland FC every week.
if it has a knock-on effect, then it's
Purely
yeah,
incidental.
all
Yeah.
serendipitous. Yeah.
Okay, if we move on to the obscure fact segment, shall I go first this week?
Oh, go on then.
Yeah, so this is actually quite a sad story I found this week, but I think it's one that needs to be told. It's not just sad, but also serious. So it's to do with women's football about 100 years ago. So in December of 1921, at the height of their power and popularity, there was a ladies' football team, and they were known as the Dick Kerr Ladies. They were effectively executed as a footballing force at the time. They were not declining, unsafe, or unpopular. They were the most watched football team in England. They would regularly draw crowds larger than the men's first division fixtures. And for clarity, the men's first division at the time, that was the equivalent to the Premier League. And they would also raise vast sums for war charities. So all of a sudden, in December of 1921, the Football Association abruptly banned women from playing on FA-affiliated pitches. They declared football to be unsuitable for females, a statement that had no medical basis and ignored all teams' spotless safety record at the time. So overnight, this is unbelievable to think of now. Overnight, women's football lost access to grounds, referees, leagues, and legitimacy. Players who had been international stars, they simply vanished into things like factory work, domestic labour, or obscurity. Careers ended without testimonies, pensions, or acknowledgement, and many died without seeing the ban lifted, and their achievements went unrecorded in official histories, their medals lost, and their records were ignored. So when women's football finally emerged decades later, it did so as if nothing had existed before, and this simply isn't true. The excellence of a generation, it was just erased, and I think how in recent times we've enjoyed watching Chloe Kelly, Megan Rapinoe, Alex Morgan, Hope Solo, Sam Kerr, and Alexia Putellas play the game, all great players. There's a lot of history which precedes them all, and I also found reference to several key individuals connected to the Dick Kerr ladies. Firstly, Lily Parr, who from records was an amazing player for the team. So from what I've seen, she was a bit like Messi and Ronaldo rolled into one. The other person was someone whose actions were instrumental in the restoration of women's football years later. So she was a lady known as Patricia Gregory. She was a lawyer and an activist who challenged the FA's 1921 ban on women's football. She founded the Women's Football Association, and she lobbied the FA and UEFA. Her legal and organisational pressure forced the FA to lift the ban, which, so I think this was in 1971, after 50 years. Without her intervention, women's football in England, it would have remained unofficial for an indefinite period of time. Mark, I'm tempted to suggest we do a larger piece on this story in future. There's a lot there, and I mean, I never knew about this. We have been football fans since we were kids. It's just an unbelievable story, and it, yeah, I think it's a great story.
Yeah, it's amazing to think that the women's game was sabotaged so much over a prolonged amount of time. I mean, it's not like the FA to have backward thinking or anything like that, is it? Right? But yeah, generations lost to yeah, just the worst kind of backward thinking. Great
Mm.
to see the game where it is now, but yeah, it was effectively sabotaged and banned as well, effectively
Yeah.
for decades. So
Mm.
yeah, the game's come on really well despite that. And yeah, there's a lot more material in there to check out. I'm sure there's quite a few tales in there. I do think there was a documentary, wasn't there, about the England ladies team that competed in a Women's World Cup, and the FA pretty much just disowned them and just went, "This isn't even official." So it was going on even then. I can't
Yeah.
remember. Was it in the 60s or 70s that one?
Mm.
I
Yeah.
think it might have been the 70s. It's a while since I've seen the piece, but yeah, there's yeah plenty of things to check out there.
Yeah.
But I I've been quite into the women's game for a while. I used to watch the FA Cup final. I think it used to be held on a bank holiday Monday, and it would usually be the only women's game shown that year. So
Mm.
things have moved on. Coverage has improved. Access to stadiums is getting there.
Mm.
Still more to do, but yeah, the players that are doing it now, the a credit to the team and the sport. So yeah, let's let's all enjoy the improvement as it goes on.
Absolutely. Should we move on to the second obscure facts? Shall I pass it over to you?
Oh, go on then. Right. Well, in the spirit of Senegal's suspension covered in this week, uh, I decided to try and have a look for an even crazier suspension for a team walking off the pitch, and I think I found it.
Oh.
The year is 1989. It's Brazil versus Chile. Chile need a result against Brazil for World Cup qualification. They're playing at the Maracana, and Brazil are winning 1-0. And then it all goes bonkers. The goalkeeper's gone down. There's a flare next to him in the penalty box. There's blood everywhere. He gets stretchered off. The Chile players basically refuse to come back on, saying this is an unsafe stadium. So, you know, the logical thinking is Brazil are in trouble here. They could be thrown out. But then there's a few twists. The goalkeeper is Roberto Rojas. He's nicknamed the El Condor, and there's no footage of him being hit by a flare. People start checking the photographic evidence. There's a photograph of the flare landing next to him, but not making contact. He's rushed to hospital, and then the hospital reports come back saying he doesn't have any flare burns, but he does have a surgical cut. And it turns out he'd actually hidden a razor blade in his goalkeeper gloves, cut his own forehead, and feigned injury from the flare. Eventually, when the hospital reports came out, he had no option but to admit, yeah, okay, I did a thing. He gets banned for life. The team doctor gets a ban. The manager gets a ban. They're all in on it. Brazil get given a 2-0 walkover result. And yeah, Rojas doesn't return to football until the early 2000s. I think the ban got lifted so he could make a living as a coach, a goalkeeping coach, and an interim manager at different points. But it effectively ended his career. And yeah, it's just one of them where I thought, well, this is a case where the team has left the pitch and they haven't come back on. So, at least Senegal came back.
That's some story. I've never known of like an athlete actually causing self-harm to sort of affect the outcome of a game. I know they do it in wrestling, but that's not um, a sport as such. But I mean, but that is just unbelievable. But Brazil, they went through to the World Cup, didn't they, that year? So
They did, and Chile were banned from the '90 World Cup and the 1994 World Cup, so they did pay a price. There
wow,
is an interesting little subplot though, because the person that threw the flare admitted to throwing the flare, and she ended up becoming a magazine model off the back of it. So
amazing, absolutely amazing. Imagine if that happened in today's world.
there's too many cameras. I think they were relying on the fact that the camera wouldn't be pointing at the penalty box at the right time. And to be fair, they did miss it. That if the camera footage of it just basically shows the keeper writhing around on the ground with a flare nearby. The photographic evidence from the match photographers by his goal was key in sort of showing this didn't happen. There's no contact, and then the hospital reports just basically threw the entire situation out as well. So how they thought they could get away with it, or even fool, the medical professionals. I
Yeah.
think as well they even put in the medical report. There's no gunpowder. There's nothing on there. It's literally a surgical light cut. So yeah, a bold attempt, but it didn't work. I don't think there's any way you can make that happen now. There's too many cameras around,
Agreed.
ref cam,
Yeah.
side cameras, the spider cam, everything.
Mm.
Yeah,
Yeah. But if somebody tried it now and think of the punishment that they would receive, it would be, I mean, it would be a life ban, of course.
yeah, yeah.
I mean, that's what happened to the player at the time, like Rojas, but it would just be, it would be all over the world's media for so long, and people would, I mean, I think if this happened now, people would like to talk about it for a long time after, because as you say, with the cameras and social media, things are recorded for posterity to a much greater degree than back then. So interesting, great story, Mark. Thank you. Great story. So that's all we have time for this week. Until the next time, keep the faith and please like and subscribe to our channels on various social media and get involved there if you are so inclined. We are back sometime next week with more TMTG goodness. Till the next time, until all are one.